I'm Bobby Riddell from Purdue Men's Basketball Radio, and you're listening to Brags in the Stands. I do it my way. I do it my
The March to Madness begins. Let's go. The Bears, they started this new tradition last year where they celebrate their wins the correct way.
Bottle and Sylvie, ESPN 1000, don't miss it.
I know what you mean.
It's like their own Philly.
Okay. Okay, I think what it is.
We shouldn't be showing this. Am I crazy?
Yogi!
What a great sign that is. What have I told you? 17 minutes of rain would wash away 108 years of drought.
Do you see this team growing into the team that you were in 2005?
Yes. Good cracks, everybody. They go.
You are ridiculous.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's Brags in the Stands, and that's right. Last weekend, Brags in the Stands got to make their official debut at Mackey Arena. We were, lucky enough to be one of the few to be able to receive a media credential for Brags in the Stands, our first ever media credential for this show, and it was a lot of fun to be able to go out there and see the Boilers get back on track against Northwestern. Northwestern's been on a little bit of a losing streak here, but just took IU to double overtime. IU was able to pull it out. So there's no nights off here in the Big Ten, as every school can tell you. And like I said, it was our first time being able to be back in Mackey Arena since last year when the COVID-19 pandemic hit. And we tried to bring you some different sights and sounds of what we were able to pick up there while we were there, as Purdue pulled off the win versus Northwestern. And there they are coming out. Sasha Stefanovic making his return from the 17-day COVID list. And, like I said, not the same energy that you would normally get, for, a pregame warm up for Mackey Arena by any means. And almost kind of sad in a way, but lucky that the games are still being able to be played. We're still able to, see these guys be able to make a run here in the Big Ten and have a chance to make the tournament. Fans or no fans, after last year not being able to have a March Madness, is we don't want to have to go through that ever again. So I am your host, Gregory Braggs Jr. I'm solo today, and we're waiting on our boy Spike Albrecht coming in from, of course, he's a man that wears many hats. He's a basketball trainer. He's a Big Ten announcer, obviously former point guard of the Purdue Boilermakers and the University of Michigan Wolverines. And we're very excited to talk to Spike here in just a few moments. But before he comes on, I'll share a few of the pictures along that I was able to pick up while I was at the game on Saturday afternoon. And there's Northwestern's bus parked right outside of Mackey Arena, where the media parks, and coming into the game. Like I said, this is a show about the fans in the stands. Brags in the stands, that's what I'm known for, is going to the games. And so I tried to pick up a few of the fans in the stands. Of course, they got these cardboard cutouts here. I don't know if anybody watching is, one of the recipients of one of these cardboard cutouts, but, I couldn't help but think, even in one of the pictures you see there in the middle, the guy has a mask on, and it just kind of made me shake my head like, man, what a world. Like, even our cardboard cutouts got to wear masks while they're at the games. Like, when will this thing end is my only question, because it's sad to be able to see this. It's a nice gesture. You saw this in the Super Bowl with the cardboard cutouts, and it helps with the ambiance or the, how it looks on TV. But, the energy, there is nothing like the energy of the crowd at Mackey Arena. And unfortunately, we haven't been able to experience that this year, and we're not going to be able to experience that. We're going to have to wait until next year to be able to have that. So, it's sad, but we'll see. I'm getting a little feedback from the chat saying it's cutting off. So I'm not sure exactly what you mean, Pedro, but if you let me know. I got Swanky in the chat saying, go Illinois. You better slow down there, young buck, because we ain't going there. Although Illinois is a very good team, and I look forward to Purdue being able to play them here in the Big Ten tournament. Illinois, of course, took down Purdue earlier this year. And like I said, just some of the pregame stuff I was looking at, there's Eric Hunter breaking down the huddle and the national anthem and everything else in between. It was just a lot of fun to be able to see these guys, in person. Obviously very honored and very thankful for Purdue's social media staff and the people that work, with the people that do the media relations to allow me to be able to come in, this lowly little podcast we're doing over here at Brags and Stands. We appreciate it very much. And another thing we appreciate is our guy, Spike Albrecht, joins the show once and for all here at Brags and the Stands, the pride of Crown Point, Indiana, the region. Of course, my hometown high school as well. So I always love giving my guys from the region a shout, but it's not that home, Spike, because it just seems like the region is to me one of the meccas of, one of the unknown meccas of basketball in this country. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Especially in the state of Indiana, I think the region doesn't get the respect that it deserves. We've had a lot of really good basketball players come out of this area, the last 5 or 10 years, but for whatever reason, the rest of the state doesn't really acknowledge us. And
well, they're having they almost have no choice now. When you, like you said, you see all these different guys across the country. South Carolina, Drake. I think Drake's undefeated with all these kids from Maryville. And then you went up against a lot of these guys, and so it's a lot of fun to watch. And you're a part of that history now. And so what? Yeah, that's kind of where I want to start off. Is like, what have you been up to? I know that you're into basketball training now. Why don't you kind of tell our viewers a little bit about what you've been getting into lately?
Yeah, man, I just moved back to the area actually a few months ago, and I was down at Louisville, but now I'm doing full-time basketball training, so player development here in Northwest Indiana. I do it in Crown Point. I do it both in person and online. The online thing really took off, at the beginning of the pandemic, and I've kind of just been running with it. Going on a year now, doing Zoom workouts with kids, ball handling, all sorts of stuff. But I've just kind of continued. Yeah, there we go.
Got some of the video. That's what we do here at Brags and Stands. We pull some of the stuff up so people can get an idea of what we're talking about. But yeah, I think it was a great idea. Like you said, it started out, online because of the pandemic, and now you've been able to work with some guys. What's it like, being a teacher as opposed to the one being taught?
Yeah, it's I love it. It's a lot easier on the body. I don't have to do everything full speed anymore, which is nice.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Exactly. I swear I used to be able to play a little bit. But no, it's great, man. Basketball is what I love to do. It's all I've ever really known. So this is a great way to keep me young, keep me around the game, and kind of my way of giving back and helping the next generation of hoopers.
Sure. So if anybody wants to get in on these ball handling workouts, this is some of the information as to how you can do that. Is there anything you might want to add to this outside of the graphic?
No, man, that's it really. But for the in-person stuff, if someone's interested here in Northwest Indiana, just look me up on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, shoot me a message. I'm taking new kids, and I'd love to help you work on your game.
That's awesome, man. I'm happy to see that you found your niche and finding what you're trying to do here. It's been a crazy year. Everybody's scrambling just to try to stay busy, really, at the end of the day. And it's good that you're being able to help back in that way, making the region proud, man. And that's kind of where I want to go to next. Like I said, I got a lot of pride for where I grew up, and I'm born and raised in Crown Point, Indiana, and so are you. Why don't you talk about a little bit of your time at Crown Point and, what your experiences was like playing basketball in the region?
Yeah, dude, I love Crown Point. I love Indiana. I'm a homebody. So I love my basketball experience, growing up here in CP. Had 2 older brothers, so, grew up playing against them my entire life. But to be able to play at CP, I tell kids all the time, like I played some really high level basketball. I played all over the world, played in 4 NCAA tournaments. But my favorite basketball was high school basketball with all my boys from CP. Yeah, I mean, these great memories, like, these are some of my best friends, playing in front of kids you've grown up with your entire life. So yeah, like, this is something these kids.
You had some good vision all the way back then. Look at that vision. Really? Finding guys across the court, giving Swan headaches maybe, or no, he trusted you at this point, huh?
Swanee's my guy. He gave me the keys to the car, man. So I was fortunate in high school. I got to do pretty much whatever I wanted. So
splitting the defenders, getting to the rim. That's a beautiful thing, Spike. And I'm pretty sure, weren't you able to take down Robbie Hummel in what was his final year? Was it in sectionals, or am I mistaken?
No, that was my older.
That was the next team. The team prior. I'm getting my years confused. I'm getting old here, Spike.
We're getting old. They're all running together. I didn't cross paths with Robbie in high school. He was a couple years older than me.
Sure. So you mentioned, Coach Swan, and I actually am going to be calling the Crown Point Valpo game tomorrow on Region Sports Network, and being able to watch Coach Swan, develop so many different kids. My good friend Pete Lakich's son, or brother, Chris Lakich, and then on to you guys, and then of course Andrew Kennelly and Sasha and Ken Decker and all that group. I can't speak more highly of Clint Swan as a coach and a mentor for you guys, but maybe you could speak a little bit on your relationship with Coach Swan.
Yeah, me and Coach Swan are really close. I've kept a super close relationship with him, not only high school, but then when I went on to Michigan and Purdue. Swanee's just a great dude. I think he's a really good coach. He cares about his players. But more than anything, like basketball aside, he's a great coach. But he's just a really good person. Like he was always there checking in on me throughout, my time at Michigan and Purdue. Anytime I was back home, which wasn't very often, but like anytime I was back home, if I needed to get in the gym or whatever, like he was always there letting me get in, get shots up, inviting me back to camps. So I got the utmost respect for Coach Swan, and I think he's done a great job with the program, in the last 10 years or so.
100%, man. And, it'll be nice when fans, these stadiums are filled back up because, when sectionals are going good and that's coming up here in this area, there's truly nothing better. When you got good basketball, it should be appreciated in the region. And, like I said, between the COVID and everything else, it's just really taking a hit on these kids. And I feel bad, man, because, you see it right here. These are memories you don't get back as a kid. And so I last year I felt for these kids that had their season cut short. And now this year I'm grateful that, even though it's limited fans or no fans at all, at least they're able to have a season nonetheless. And moving on maybe to your college days, maybe talk about what it was like to be able to sign your letter of intent. I have access to your Facebook pictures, Spike, so I got your old school haircut.
What's going on over here, dude?
What was that like there, though? That's the moment you were signing your letter of intent for Michigan, with the young kid haircut and, and trying to be a small fish in a big pond. What were your thoughts the moment you were putting your ink on the dotted line?
Yeah, honestly, man, I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was one of it was a surreal moment and one of the most like gratifying moments I've ever had in my entire life, just because, that was like years and years and years of hard work. Like I've been playing basketball since I was 3 years old and had been pretty much doubted my entire life, told I, wasn't going to play, at Division I or whatever it was. So like, just to be able to go out and prove that, all the hard work I put in to prove that I was right for working as hard as I did, it was a really gratifying moment for me and my family. Yeah,
and of course, then you go on to have a nice long career at Michigan, but it got started out with a bang. Everybody's always going to remember you for the moment in the national championship, and I know you've been asked about it a million times, but I have to know just from our viewers' perspective what that was like for you going through that moment and being a part of history.
It was crazy, man. The whole experience was unbelievable. That's something you dream about as a little kid. Getting to play in the NCAA tournament, playing a Final Four, national championship. Those are things I, could only dreamed of growing up. But I tell people all the time, like, when I was out there, like I prepared for that moment for 15 years, like it didn't just happen overnight. So when I got the opportunity, I was confident in myself and my skill set, and it just happened to be on the biggest stage, but I was ready to go out and perform, and sucked that we lost, but it was still an unbelievable experience.
Yeah, because for me, as at the time, I've evolved into a Purdue fan because I watched all the days of Andrew, Kennelly, and Sasha and those guys. And when Sasha moved on to Purdue, I was like, I'm throwing away the candy canes. But at the time, I was an IU fan, and when you guys are in the national championship, I'm rooting for my guy, my hometown kid. But I'm not sure how many minutes you get anything like that. By halftime, I have never been a bigger Michigan fan in my life. And man, it's something, obviously I'm sure you don't like to go, but the fact that you lost, because to me, I always said if you won the game, there'd be a statue of you outside that basketball stadium. That's to me the impact you had on the moment. But regardless of the outcome of the game, I still felt like your impact of the moment was so profound, because that is what the Cinderella story is all about. You mentioned it, a kid that is doubted, you come off the bench, nobody knows your name, and then there you are in the biggest stage showing up. That is what the magic of the NCAA tournament is all about. And there you were, this guy from Crown Point, Indiana, who I watched go through the halls of Crown Point High School. Me personally, I couldn't have been more proud. I can't imagine how you weren't thinking about the moment, because when I was a kid playing basketball, even pups basketball on those Crown Point High School gyms, I couldn't help but think about how important the championship game with Pete was, let alone a national championship against Louisville. So that kind of speaks to your cold-bloodedness and the mentality that it probably takes to play at that level, huh?
Yeah. I mean, a little bit for sure. Like I had mentioned earlier, I grew up with two older brothers, so like I was playing against guys 4 or 5 years older than me my whole life. So I was never really like afraid of the big moment or afraid of a challenge. So when I got my opportunity, I felt like I was ready. And then when you get out there, man, you start playing. Adrenaline kicks in, and at the end of the day, like it's just basketball.
Right.
And I've always had that mentality, like, I'm gonna go out there, I'm gonna do my thing, play hard, be aggressive, and whatever happens. But I prepared for the moment, and that's all you can do.
So, a guy that doesn't miss his moment like that, I have to touch briefly on, you shooting your shot here, Spike. Another thing I'm sure you've been asked a million times about, but another thing that I think maybe made me 10 times more proud of you and the fact that you're from Crown Point is you're out here shooting your shot for Kate Upton after the game. And, it made Twitter at the time, which is funny because back then Twitter was very young, but you set Twitter ablaze and they're covering you on PTI and everything else with Spike get the date with Kate Upton. You guys are going to all these formal functions where the both of you are at. What was your memories of you putting that tweet out? Did you ever think that it would turn into the story that it did?
You know what, dude? I didn't. I honestly, at first, I didn't want to do it because I was just like, we lost. Like, that's stupid. Coach Beeline's going to be pissed at me. But, like, I got baited into doing it by some teammates and a bunch of other people. So, and like you said, Twitter was new back then, man. So, like, I didn't really, like, I wasn't big on Twitter and didn't understand, like, how this was gonna go. So as soon as I tweeted it out, though, I was like, holy crap, this is about to get crazy. Like within 10-15 seconds, it already had like hundreds of retweets. So I was like, oh my God, this is gonna go terrible.
That's back then, man. You're like the OG of when a tweet would go crazy. There wasn't too many of those moments back then, and you certainly were one of them. And then I found this picture when I was searching for the tweet. Is this your old teammate?
Oh my God.
Calling you out? Look at you asleep on the bus. Not to put you on the spot here, Spike.
He definitely ain't calling. Look at that picture.
Well, who's Matt? Is this your old teammate here?
That's Bogrich. He was a senior. He was one of my really good friends on the team. I love that.
Well, he was trying to help you out there in the Kate Upton attempt, which was a very funny moment. And, yeah, truly a really, really, really funny moment. So, like I said, back to your Michigan career, because like I said, you did have a nice career there, even, though maybe you didn't get back to the mountaintop like you did that freshman year. What were your years like there at Michigan? And then more importantly for me, because as the research I was doing for you on Spike, I didn't really remember how much trials and tribulations you went through with the hip surgery. What was that like for you to, have to battle through that? And what would you tell kids right now that are going through some of those similar situations right now, how to keep their mentality sharp?
Yeah, I had this like genetic hip condition, so I knew I was dealing with it honestly for a few years. Like, it really started to pick up my sophomore year at Michigan. They wanted me to get the surgery after my sophomore year, but I wanted to just try to get through my career without having to get surgery because I know what that entails. And I knew I wasn't going to go on to play in the NBA. So played my sophomore year, played my junior year, and junior year was a struggle. Like I knew, like, okay, hey, something's seriously wrong here. So I got a couple cortisone shots, did what I needed to do throughout my junior year just to, keep playing and push through. But ultimately after the season, like the docs were like, hey, like there's no way we're letting you go back out and play another year. Like I had 2 torn labrums, hip fractures, like all sorts of stuff. So I got surgery after my junior year. And I tell people all the time, like if I didn't have to do it, I wouldn't have, because I was not the same player. So it was not easy coming back from that, but it is what it is. If it helps me in the long run, great. But I think as every athlete knows, man, like injuries and adversity is part of sports. And like the way that I always kind of thought of it, and for young kids, man, like, yeah, sports it's your livelihood, like right now. But like when you put things in perspective, like, dude, it's just a game. Like I would get so down on myself and get so frustrated about my injuries and stuff. But like, there's so much more important things going on in life. And like, I was so fortunate to be able to play at the level I played. I was getting school paid for. I got my surgeries paid for. Like, there's young kids who are, deathly ill or who can't walk. Like, there's a lot
Sure.
of things going on in life. Like, I had a couple.
Yeah, to your point, I work with a kid that his knees messed up and he doesn't have school paying for it. He's got to just tough it out at work and get the bricks to the bricklayers, and so that perspective is definitely fair. And then the silver lining of it all was you were able to battle through it and get new life at Purdue. What was that like for you to be able to, kind of regenerate your career and even have not only a nice year with a good school, but a very successful season where it finishes with you cutting down the nets? Maybe speak about maybe some of your memories of playing at Purdue and winning a Big Ten championship.
Yeah, man. I love my last year at Purdue. Obviously, being from Indiana, it was great to come back to the home state. Coach Painter is one of a kind. He's a great dude. I know you're a huge Purdue fan. He's awesome. So I couldn't have asked for a better experience there.
Huge Painter guy.
Yeah, he's the man. Funniest dude I've ever met, by the way. He's hysterical. But for me, man, like,
what do you mean? Why? What's he do? What's he say?
I'm telling you, he's just hysterical. Listen to his interviews. He's got some of the funniest one-liners. Like,
he does. You're 100%. He's real. I think I know where you're going with this, because like with Jaden Ivey and Brandon, they're shooting after each game now, and it's starting to create a little bit of social media momentum because a few people caught it and it took off. And he was asked about it after one of the games, and he was like, hey, these guys are going out after a big win and shooting. What does that tell you, coach? And he's like, well, it means they like to shoot. He's just one of those guys that's always got a good one for you. You're 100% right there. But go ahead about your memories at Purdue. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No worries, man. Just for me, my big thing, man, with my fifth year, and you were kind of, alluded to it earlier, was, I wanted to finish my career on my own terms and not get my career cut short due to injuries. So that's why I opted to do the redshirt year. And, I ended up at Purdue because of Coach Payne. And I thought he was, one of the most genuine coaches that reached out to me. He was very upfront and very honest. And I wanted to be close to home. That was huge, to be able to have my family come to games. So to be able to finish my career out there, have the fam close. We won a Big Ten championship, got to the Sweet 16. So I couldn't have asked for anything more out of my last year.
Yeah, when you go to Purdue, when you go to Mackey Arena now, there's a big mural of you guys on the wall with the trophy and winning the Big Ten championship on your home floor. That must have been very rewarding feeling. Start your career with such fireworks and then end it with that. That had to have been a very rewarding feeling for you, man. And like I said, you've made the region proud, very much so, with everything you've done, not what you're doing now, and what you have done in your career, Spike. And truly appreciate your time here on Brags in the Stands, man. And you're right. I'm all into Painter. I'm all into these baby boilers because our guy Sasha Stefanovic is from hometown Crown Point, Indiana. Another guy following in your footsteps, and they're battling right now. So that's another reason I wanted to bring you on today, was to get your feelings on these new baby boilers and what you see out of these guys. The Big Ten is a grind every single night. There's never a day off for any of these teams. Northwestern just took IU to double overtime, and IU barely snuck away. So, what do you think of the job that Purdue has been able to do up to this point? No seniors and 5 freshmen playing big minutes, and there they are, almost to the top of that leaderboard there.
Yeah, they're looking good. Payne's done a great job. I'm not going to lie. I was a little bit worried in the beginning of the year, with that much youth. And I think it was showing a little bit. But also just with COVID and everything, like it's been a weird year getting the chemistry and, getting a nice flow. But they're rolling now, and, hopefully, knock on wood, they can all stay safe and keep it rolling, because I think they're looking pretty good. And, they have a chance to make some noise in the tournament.
How much have you been able to tune into them this year? Because, there's a few players I'd love to ask you about. I picked up some footage of them, but Travion Williams, man, it's almost like he's a point guard on the court for this team. You kind of see him, maneuvering the offenses running through him. Maybe speak on the agility of this guy, because I'm astounded by him.
Yeah, I think Travion's great, man. And he's been able to, each year, he's just gotten like better and better each year. He's been able to, excuse me.
Oh, you're good.
Been able to expand his game. And like you said, he's almost like a point forward this year, you know? Like he's making plays, dropping dimes. He had the flip behind his head the other day. Like I was like, wow, this dude, I mean, he's balling. Him and then the other dude I'm sure you're gonna touch on, I mean, Jay Ivey. I'm blown away by him. Like and I think he's still very raw. Like I just don't think he quite knows how to play the game yet. But he's just tremendously talented and he's a competitor. Like he's a tough ass.
100%. Jaden Ivey, man, jumping off the page on Saturday when I went there, playing with all sorts of intensity. You know, you were a smaller guard and a point guard. He's kind of a wing guy, and the flash. I mean, you know, like you said, he's got some development to learn patience and things like that. But you know, how high is his floor? I see a guy like Ao. Honestly, he looks like Ao. I get laughed at by my Illinois buddies that he reminds me of Ao in a lot of ways. What do you?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would agree. I think he's got NBA talent and NBA athleticism and he's got all the things that you can't teach, you know, like he's just a freak of nature. And the fact that he's competitive and works really hard on top of it, you know, like you said, I think the sky's the limit for him. And he's only going to get better, you know, with coaching and Coach Payne's great at developing talent and developing players. So, you know, I think he's going to be a really, really good player for the next couple of years.
Absolutely. Purdue would be lucky to have him for 4 years. You know, to go back to Travion, you know, from your perspective as a point guard, the thing that I've noticed with this, with these Boilers and their youth is learning how to get it into the big man. You know, they have Zach Edey, who's this 7'6" guy, and Travion. How hard is it to develop the confidence and understanding of the offense to pass with conviction inside the post?
Yeah, you know what, man? That's a great question because that was like a huge learning curve for me coming from Michigan to Purdue. Like Michigan, we never threw the ball in the post. And then I go to Purdue, and that's all we did was feed the post. So we worked on it a lot at Purdue, like feeding the post. Because, like, you get to college, it's a skill. Like, a lot of guys, you're getting pressured. You got hands. Like, they can't make a post entry, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's something we really, really worked on at Purdue. I know Coach Payne has those guys doing. And it helps when you got Zach Edey, who's 8'7". You know, you just fired in there. He's going to catch it.
Yeah.
But, like, that's definitely something that they rep out in practice.
Yeah, you see Sash there just chucking it up to this guy, Zach Edey. He is amazing to me, you know, as, you know, 7'5", 7'6", whatever he is. You know, it's almost a cheat code to an extent. And Purdue has had so many of these guys. You played with Isaac Haas. You know, what is it like to, you know, go from high school and playing with these shorter kids to playing with these Goliaths?
Dude, I'll tell you what, I love playing with Isaac Haas and those guys at Purdue, especially talking about post entries. This is what we would say at Purdue because Isaac, they were like, we were all trying to get the ball into the post. They would just tell you, they were like, fire it at his face. They were like, throw the ball as hard as his face, he will catch it. So, like, I mean, I wish you could pull up old film from when I was there and those guys were there with Isaac. Like, you would literally just two-hand snap pass, and, I mean, his hands were massive. Just fire it right at his head, and he was turned, and you just couldn't guard him. Like, if he got a deep post seal, it was an automatic 2 points because it's just too big.
Yeah, I don't know where Painter finds these guys in a factory or something. You have Haas, then Harms, then you got Zach Edey. And I'm so surprised with Zach that he's ready to play. Because a couple years ago, I saw him on a recruiting visit, and he looked like, you know, such a young kid. And I thought for sure he'd be redshirted. And then Harms transfers, and you think that maybe he's going to get a senior transfer like he got for you, and he doesn't. He held serve with Edey, and that got my ears perked up. Then I heard he was battling with Travion at practice. I'm like, really? And now all of a sudden, here he is out there. I think the thing that impresses me the most of Zach Edey is his free throws, man. This guy, for a 7'6" guy, what touch for a free throw shooter. You know, how can a guy that big have that good of mechanics at shooting free throws?
I don't know, but that's another thing. Like, that's something you can't teach is like that soft touch. But like to your point earlier, I saw Zach last year because I was out actually coaching at a prep school, and he went to IMG, and I knew he was going to Purdue, and he didn't play, dude, in high school. He wasn't playing on his high school team, so I was like, oh, he must be super raw, right? I'm like, if you're not playing in high school and you're that big, I just assumed I was like, so I didn't think he's going to be able to play at all this year. But obviously, I mean, I think Purdue's style and their system, complements big men well. But it also speaks volumes to Coach Painter and Coach Brantley, who's the big man's coach, and what they've been able to do with him in a short amount of time to like bring him up to speed and get him ready to roll.
You're 100% right. He's just picked up a basketball 4 years ago. He's a lifer hockey player from Canada. Now all of a sudden he's playing on the big stage. Painter doesn't even get a senior grad transfer or anything. He just throws him to the Wolves, and every day he seems to get better. Truly impressive. And then there's the culmination of all three of these guys. You got Zach Edey with the block, and then he pulls in transition to Jaden Ivey, who runs like the wind, and then finished off there by Brandon Newman, another player from the region, Valparaiso High School, the region factory at Purdue. What have you seen from Brandon Newman so far? He's won a couple Big Ten Player of the Weeks, and obviously they've had a lot of Purdue history at Valpo with Robbie Hummel and Scott Martin and guys like that. What have you seen from Brandon Newman so far?
Yeah, he's another kid who he just reminds me of like a tough region dude who just plays with an edge. Like he is absolutely fearless out there. He gets up into people's stuff defensively. He picks them up. You can tell he's a tough kid. He plays with some swagger. I was at the Michigan game. Obviously, it's tough with Sasha being out. They didn't play very well, but like he wasn't backing down to anybody. Like Franz Wagner tried to dunk on him. He blocked it, and he's running back talking shit to Franz. I was like, okay. I was like, this kid's got some stuff to him, and I like that. I mean, even right there, that step back, like that's a tough move.
That's cold-blooded, man. And I was surprised the refs didn't call it travel because they're so lame in college. They don't know when they see greatness, they get all flustered. And that was a technician right there. But yeah, you're right. I pull up all these offensive highlights, but man, are they really grinding on the defensive end too? These guys seem to have figured it out here where they're supposed to be at the very least, which is a surprise because I mean, I know Sasha's told me it took him a couple years to truly come into his own and understand where he's supposed to be. Was that kind of your experience as well? Because I know you were thrown into the fire, but you had Trey Burke in front of you.
Yeah, no, I mean, but dude, it does. It definitely takes a while, more so on the defensive end too, than the offensive end. Like guys like Sasha's gifted on, especially offensively, just comes in, makes shots, got a great stroke. But like, to understand your defensive principles and like what your coaches want for you, and just being able to adjust to the speed of the game and the size and athleticism, like it definitely took me a while. And I obviously wasn't a great defender, but by the time you're in upperclassmen, you have a much better feel, and it's like the game starts to slow down for you on the defensive end.
So, you're a point guard. We've been through all these other players, but what are your quick thoughts on Eric Hunter? How do you think he is as a leader? He's obviously another great player on defense. What do you think? Because I think the term thrown around most with Eric Hunter is leader, and you definitely see it here with him talking to Isaiah coming off. What have you seen from Eric Hunter? And maybe would you have any advice for him as he, finishes his career here at Purdue?
Yeah, I mean, I think the right there, leader, the word you just said hits it right on the head. And I mentioned earlier in the show, their struggles early on, and you forget that Eric Hunter wasn't playing, right? He came off the foot injury, so they were definitely lacking. I think another ball handler and a point guard, but also that leadership. Like Eric was on that team that almost went to the Final Four, so he's been there. He's played in big games. He's a rock for their team right now. And I know they got some really good players elsewhere, but like come tournament time, you only go as far as your guards will take you, in my opinion. So it's going to be it's going to be on his shoulders to kind of lead these guys, especially these younger dudes, freshmen and sophomore, get them ready for tournament time. But I know he's up for the challenge, and he's a great kid, great leader, great player, another Indiana kid. So I know he's going to get it done for the Boilers.
Yep, the Boilers are good for getting the best talent out of Indiana. That's why they've been dominating the Purdue-IU rivalry for quite some time now. And, kind of circle all the way back now to our guy, Sasha Stefanovic. What are your thoughts on his career so far at Purdue? And the, evolution he's kind of gone through, and he's had his opportunity kind of present itself with different roster moves and kind of where he's at. What has it been like for you to watch him kind of grow through the Purdue ranks and now be a leader of this team as a junior?
Yeah, man, dude, it's awesome. And I love Sash. I love his family. They're great people. So I'm so happy for the success he's having. People ask me all the time, like, are you surprised at, how well Sasha's doing at Purdue? Like, a lot of people, I think, kind of similar to me, like, doubted him and didn't think he was going to be able to play at Purdue. But, I mean, dude, especially in today's game, like, Sasha's an NBA shooter. Like, he can, it don't matter. He can put the ball in the bucket. And, like, at every level, there's a need for that. Shooting is the most important skill in basketball. And, like, he is an elite level shooter. And he's a tough kid. Tough kid, Tough family. So I'm not surprised at all by the success he's having. It's been awesome to see, awesome to watch. I know they love him there at Purdue. Not just his teammates, but the fans. They need him. You've seen what happened when he wasn't playing. That's the one thing they do lack at times, shooting, especially without Sash. So, he's a super valuable, piece for that team. But I'm just excited for him, and I'm excited to see what he does the rest of his career with this team.
Yeah, he was shaking off the rust on Saturday. He was on the 17-day COVID list prior to, but you're right. There were some people because I following Nick Henderson's brother Andrew Kennelly as he grew up, and then once he made high school, I'll never forget Sasha's rise even through high school because he was unassuming even as a sophomore, baby face. And you got the Munster kids making fun of his first name, and he came out there and swatted a couple kids and dropped a couple threes in people's faces. Turned to the student section, told them all to quiet down. I was like, this kid's got something, and you've seen it kind of evolve into what it's become. And when he signed his letter of intent at Purdue, IU had just gotten Grant Galen, and that didn't work out for, it's about opportunity in a lot of ways. It's not that Grant wasn't talented. Sometimes it's about timing and opportunity, just as you saw your freshman year. And now these people want to try to say Sasha can't play at this level. And I always laugh because you could see it. Anybody that just went and watched a game, you could see it. And it has been a lot of fun to see that come to fruition. But again, it's also kind of a luck of opportunity too. He's, once you get your shot, you gotta take it, right?
Yeah, no question. And I'll say this, like Sash, like he's always been a gamer. Like I've known Sash since he was in second or third grade. He's he was like me, playing up 2 or 3 grades. Tough kid. Always playing against kids older than him. Was never scared of the moment. But Sasha too, like I know I touched on his shooting ability, but Sasha's just a really smart basketball player too. Like he has a great feel for the game. He's always in the right place at the right time. And that type of stuff goes a long way, and coaches value that, So sure, he's getting some opportunity, but like he created that opportunity from the work he's put in and the player he's become, in my opinion.
100%. Well said. You're 100% right, because when you listen to Painter's interviews, that's the first thing he always talks about is how dependable Sasha is, always knows where he's supposed to be, makes very little mistakes, doesn't play outside of himself. Those are the things I think are key in a Matt Painter philosophy. If you're going to come to his school, is be who you are. If you want to try to expand outside of that, work on that, and I appreciate that from him a lot.
For sure. No doubt.
So, to wrap a few things up, and I appreciate all your time here, running through all this stuff with me and, taking us back on your career. And that is where I want to speak back to. I've watched a few of your interviews, doing my Spike homework today, and you're training kids now as we showed earlier in the broadcast. And, what would your advice be to those players out there that are like you, that are doubted, that are hated on, that have certain things that are going their way or aren't going their way necessarily? That they got to go to prep school, or they got to be redshirted, or they're too small, or they're coming off an injury. What would be your advice to them as far as trying to become the player that they want to be?
You know what? I would tell them that, hey man, everybody's journey is different. Like everybody's journey, everybody's story is different. You don't have to be the traditional, especially in today's game. Like you don't have to be the traditional 4 or 5 star kid, to go to this school or that school. Like if you want to play college basketball, I'm not just talking about Division 1. The first thing, like, you got to work. Like, there's no shortcuts unless you're, 6'6", 6'7", incredible athlete. Like, there's nothing easy about playing college basketball. Like, you got to really dedicate yourself, commit to being great, sacrifice some things. I sacrificed, friendships, going out, partying in high school, all this and that. Like, I love basketball. That's what I wanted to do. But if you're serious about it, you'll do those things to try to get to the next level. But the other thing, kind of going about the journey and everybody's story being different is just like, hey, like you mentioned, haters. Like my whole thing in high school is I didn't care what anybody said about me. Like, I was never going to let anybody tell me, what I could or couldn't do. I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew what I was capable of. I believed in myself. I worked at it. I think if you do those things, the right opportunity will find you.
And I'm glad you went there because I heard an interview where you almost said that verbatim, and that even struck home with me. I'm older than you, but it was inspirational words for me. That's what I'm trying to do here, have a little fun, but I take seriously what I do, and I also have wanted to do this for a long time, and I had a lot of people telling me I would never do it, and here I am bugging you about your career at Michigan and Purdue. So take that, everyone. But I'm lucky enough to have a few connections in the region because there are so many of us that have come through there, like you and Sash and Robbie and Dan Dockich, and the list goes on and on and on. It seems like I know one of you guys through a different way, but you and your brother, watching you guys through high school, and being I was more buddies with your brother, but we certainly were buddies. But it was fun to see you come up in those ranks as well, Spike, and happy to see that you're helping the kids doing the training. I saw you were doing a lot of good charitable work, over the Christmas season for Toys for Tots, I believe, and that was really cool stuff too as well, man. So again, I really appreciate all your time breaking down the Purdue Boilermakers. You also went to Michigan, obviously, for those that are tuning in. They've been off for a couple of weeks. What are your thoughts with them? Because they looked like the best basketball team in the country, and now I kind of forget that they're up there because they haven't played in so long.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, they're really legit, man. I think Gonzaga and Baylor are 1-2. I think those two teams are really good, and I think they're a little bit ahead of the rest of the pack. But Michigan's for real. I think they're a legit contender. I think they could win the whole thing. They've got a ton of pieces. They've got size. They've got good guards. They've got wings. They've got experience. They're big. They're strong. They defend. So I think they're a team to watch out for in the tournament. I wouldn't be surprised if we see them in the Final Four.
Now, do you see Purdue hanging on for dear life and making the tournament? I keep calling it hanging on for dear life, but man, they've put themselves in such a great spot. But I don't want to take anything for granted because I know it's the Big Ten and things can turn quick. I mean, Northwestern looked like a tournament team, and they've lost about 8 in a row now. So, do you think Purdue will be able to finish the job and have their name called on Selection Sunday?
Yeah, I'm knocking on wood for sure. But dude, Purdue's getting in. There's no doubt about it. I think the Big Ten's the best conference in the country by far. Purdue's had some good wins. I think as long as they finish it out here, and they're respectable, in the remainder of the Big Ten schedule, I think they're a lock to get in, especially with the NCAA tournament being in Indianapolis/Indiana.
Yeah, you got the Big Ten tournament, the main tournament's and the early rounds are gonna be played in Mackey Arena and Assembly Hall. That'll be quite a sight to see, man. Pretty lucky for them, and I do think that is for Purdue a very, as disappointing as it has been to not be able to go to games, not feel the energy of the crowd. For Matt Painter to have 5 freshmen and no seniors, when you're on the road, the momentum shifts are not there anymore. They can hear the coaches telling them what to do on defense. And at home, I do think you lose a little bit of that momentum push when the crowd's going crazy. But even still, I think just being able to keep their collective minds with all the pomp and circumstance and the ruckus, I think is truly helping their development shift a little faster than it normally would. What do you think there?
Yeah. I mean, I would certainly agree with that. I'm with you though. Like, I feel bad for these kids who aren't getting to experience like Mackey Arena and some of these other great arenas too throughout the Big Ten, the other the other conferences. It's tough because that's part of the beauty of college basketball.
That's the experience, man.
Sure
It sucks.
For the kids, the fans, but it definitely seems like the learning curve has been expedited. I'm sure with the coach being right there, it's a little easier, picking up play calls and communicating to the bench and whatnot. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise for this young team. Who knows?
Sure. So, you did a little work with the Big Ten network. Are you still popping in and out with them, or you sticking to the training for now until COVID blows over?
Sticking to the training for now. You know what? I'll jump on BTN every once in a while and do like a little pop-up interview. Usually come like tourney time and stuff. But I'll tell you what, like the stuff that Robbie Hummel does, that is not easy, man. Like I went down to Chicago at the headquarters and like interviewed for that, and like they put me through like a little mock interview, and I was like, oh, how hard can it be? Just go in and talk hoops, and they put up some plays. Dude, it wasn't easy. It was on a green screen. There was like cameras left and right, people talking in my ear. I came out of that interview with a headache. I was like, hey, I know that was terrible. I was like, you don't even got to tell me. I was like, this is a lot of work.
Oh, man. Hey, practice makes perfect. Robbie's so good. You can do it. You just got to practice, like you said, just like anything else, and maybe you can get back to that because Robbie does do an incredible job. Another guy I've had on this broadcast is the radio color analyst for Purdue men's basketball, Bobby Riddell. And, you're right. Yeah, Bobby Buckets. It's his first year calling color analyst for Purdue, and he doesn't get the fan. I feel so bad for all these guys to not have that experience. And yeah, I mentioned tomorrow I'm making my basketball color analyst debut on Region Sports Network, and I'm nervous about it because all I've ever done is baseball play-by-play, which is a lot slower. You can have a second to collect your thoughts. But I told Nathan, who is one of the main guys over there at Region Sports Network, I was like, I yell to my wife and my mom what's going on during the Purdue games. I should be fine. So just throw it to the wolves. Quickly though, you were at the Super Bowl over the weekend. I know you're a Chiefs fan, it looks like, but they didn't get the win. But what was the game like, and what was that experience like?
You know what, man? It was an unbelievable experience. Actually, the guy I went with got the tickets through the Chiefs organization, so I had to rep the Chiefs because they hooked us up with the tickets. But secretly, I was rooting for Tom Brady, being a Michigan guy.
How do you know that guy that you went with? You don't have to say the guy you went with.
Yeah,
little between. Yeah, okay. I was gonna say he's a good dude. But that's cool that you were able to go. Because like I said, you get to witness history, and you went to Michigan. Tom Brady is from Michigan, and now he goes on to his 10th Super Bowl. So what was that like to be able to, don't you think he should just retire? I mean, my goodness, that to go out on top. You see all these players that don't go out on top in those moments, and he's talking about coming back next year. This is the perfect moment, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Some of these dudes, though, like him, Kobe Bryant, MJ, like those guys, they're just, they're addicted to it. Like they just can't let it go. And he's still playing at a high level. I mean, he had a phenomenal year. So I'm sure he wants to come back and see if he can defend his title. But it was cool as hell to see him and Mahomes. You got like, the baby goat versus the goat, and it was just a cool story. Obviously, the Chiefs didn't play well, so the game kind of sucked. But just the atmosphere and like being at the entire event was a pretty cool experience.
You like the halftime show? My daughter Addison enjoyed it. Everybody's giving the weekend hate, but I thought it was a good performance. What did you think?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was cool. I heard it was a little weird in the stadium. I'm not gonna lie, just because there was like all these fireworks and smoke and stuff, and the weekend she's a strange dude. But I mean, it was cool. I was entertained by it, and I know people home on TV were loving it.
We got our guy Chubbs in the chat. He thought he's a tough talker on Twitter. He says Mahomes was trash. I wouldn't go that far. The guy was making sidearm throws, bending half over 30 yards on a dime. But I certainly think the Chiefs showed, and I know you're a Bears fan too, that it's a team sport, and you can be as great as Patrick Mahomes, but if you don't have your left tackle and you don't have certain pieces, and you're dropping passes and defense is letting go of the rope, anything can happen. So, again, man, appreciate all your time, man. It's been a lot of fun to, break it all down with you and get to know your career here a little bit. Certainly love to bring you on again sometime. Maybe not go through the whole life story, but I certainly wanted to give our viewers an idea of who you are and what you're all about, because always want to put a spotlight on my favorite guys from the region and, of course, Crown Point, Indiana. And you're definitely one of those guys, and I appreciate it, Spike.
Awesome. Let's go, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Greg.
No problem. Hey, Spike, real quickly, you know how to do a station ID? You mind popping one in for me before I let you go, big superstar? I don't know if you know how this works, but, at the start of each of my show, I'll clip it. And it's basically, this is Spike Albrecht, former Big Ten point guard, however you want to say it. And you're listening to Brags in the Stands. And then I'll clip it later and play it on a future show. How's it sound?
So I say,
all right.
Hey, we'll do a lot. Let's do it.
Hey, don't worry. Sasha took 2 takes. I've had Akeem Hicks back in the day took 9 takes, so no pressure. Your internet's a little choppy, but I certainly want to give it a shot here. So it's basically, like I said, this is Spike Albrecht, former Purdue basketball, badass, whatever you want to say. And you're listening to Brags in the Stands, however you want to do it. So I'll give you a countdown, and then we'll let it rock. So in 3, 2, 1.
Hey, this is Spike Albrecht, former Big Ten point guard, and you're listening to Brags in the Stands. Let's go.
Boom. Hey, that nailed it. And the internet speed picked up a little bit right at the perfect time. So that worked out, Spike. Hey, man, you're clutch. You've always been clutch. We learned that with your Kate Upton tweet, of course. But we appreciate your time again, and keep working hard out there, helping out the kids. And if you ever need any help from me with any of that, or I'll always promote your work on here. If you need any help with your charity work, I'm always a phone call away. So again, appreciate all your time tonight, and look forward to chopping up with you again sometime.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
All right, Spike Albrecht, pride of Crown Point, Indiana, and the region. That's right, Chubbs. Go Illinois. I know you're a big Illinois fan. We got Swanky in the house too, who's a huge Illinois fan. And you guys, hey, top 10. I think you're top 5 right now. I don't know, top 6. So good for you. I'm hoping that Purdue can get to the Big Ten tournament and meet you guys so we can take Illinois down, so I can give Chubb some crap, because hey, Purdue's coming right now. So don't be sleeping on my baby Boilers. Thank you very much. And again, like I said, Spike's been doing some good charitable work in the area, so I wanted to share that video along here.
Christmas joy to children throughout the world. Growing up for me, Christmas time was always my favorite time of the year. I still remember waking up early Christmas morning, sprinting downstairs, opening presents. Those were unforgettable memories, things that I'll cherish for the rest of my life. And I think it's something that every child needs to experience at least once. So with that being said, I hope you'll take part in the challenge, but more importantly, I hope you'll consider donating to a great cause. So here's how the challenge works. 60 seconds on the clock, 1 ball, 1 rebounder. I'll be shooting. My man Jake over there will be passing. The goal is to make as many shots as you can in 60 seconds. For every made shot, I'll donate $10 to the Toys for Tots charity. Shots feeling pretty good. Let's see what happens. There we go. All right, we're heating up. Here we go. Yeah, let's go. Yeah. Love Christmas, B. Get up. All right, so that was pretty good. 17 made threes for 170 total. Feeling generous, so we're going to double it to 340. That is the Toys for Tots 3-point challenge. Hey, I know 2020 has been tough on everyone, but if you're willing and able, please consider donating, take part in the challenge, help change some kids' lives. Thanks, and Merry Christmas. Let's go.
There it is. Nice little video and nice gesture. And hey, Spike, I was telling him I was playing the video. He said he still got it. Loved when you started making, you're like, I love Christmas. Ching! really nice touch there. And way to step up and help the kids out. Not just training them, and with his basketball. And like I said, if anybody wants to get in on his, virtual online sessions, you can do that here. And here's all the information you need. Spike Albrecht Hoops at gmail.com for contact information. And then they also do in-person. He also does in-person training if you're in the area, to the Northwest Indiana area, the region, or, even the Chicagoland area. This guy is as good as it gets as far as ball handling, training and everything else. And, obviously having to go through COVID protocols and everything else, got masks up and everything like that. So, he's taking care of everybody he possibly can. So I wanted to make sure to give a shout out to his hard work and efforts, not just with the charity, but with his training with the kids around the area. So shout out to Spike Albrecht. Truly appreciate all his time tonight and his insights, with these young Purdue Boilermakers. And it was cool to go back down memory lane and kind of hear his thoughts of, coming through the Big Ten, because it's not easy, playing in the Big Ten, and he made a hell of a career for himself there. So, before we jet loose here, I got to make sure I hit up my guys, Fan Bags, Brian Potter. Normally I'd have some music, but I'm all solo tonight. Didn't want to drag anybody into my, basketball love for tonight. Trey Tunes and Jake and Johnny all snuggled up in bed with their teddy bears. I didn't want to mess with them tonight, and I wanted to have some fun on my own, see how I could do this. So that Spike Albrecht interview was brought to you by Fanbags Cornhole, Chicago's official supplier of cornhole boards and bags. Choose from any of their officially licensed designs, or have my boy Brian design a custom set using anything from a selfie to your company's logo. Visit www.fanbagscornhole.com and use the promo code BRAGS to get 10% off your entire order. That's www.fanbagscornhole.com and use the promo code BRAGS for 10% off. Step up your game with Fanbags Cornhole. I don't have Jake here to say it with me, but we're going to have him on soon. Next week, we're hoping to have JJ Stankovitz come on. We're getting to the end of the road here for Jacoby Hovanek, also known as Jake. Here is on Jakey, as I affectionately call him here at Brags in the Stands. Chubb's always in the chat giving us crap, and he's got something to say about Illinois, so we'll pull it up for him. Easy for Illinois. No, you are not dominating. You are very fortunate, and yeah, you got to throw one Purdue sucks in, and I'll pull it up. I'm not cowardly. They don't suck. You were completely wrong, Chubbs. You were saying all year how they weren't going to make the tournament. You heard from Spike himself. He's got Purdue in, and right now it'd be hard to argue with them when you consider the standings in the Big Ten. Obviously, these are a little different now that Indiana and Northwestern just got done. Indiana won. Rutgers and Iowa are currently playing. I believe Iowa is winning that game. So a little bit of movement tonight. Purdue plays Minnesota tomorrow at Minnesota, a big game. We got our boy Sasha Stefanovic, last year's Minnesota game at Mackey. Sasha and their best player, Marcus Carr, going back and forth. I'll share one of the best moments of the game where Sasha hit a go-ahead 3 in overtime, Chubbs. So take that. That was a great moment at Mackey Arena last year while fans were still in the stands. And that's right, my guy Sasha Stefanovic hitting a go-ahead 3. And they are not NIT because there will be no NIT this year. I haven't heard any announcements for any kind of NIT tournament this year. So I believe it's only going to be the main tournament this year. So that's even more of an onus for a team like Purdue to make it because, like last year, a team like Purdue probably would have been in the NIT. They would have had to basically win 3 or win out the Big Ten tournament, which also didn't take place because of COVID-19 to make the March Madness. But even beyond that, teams need this experience, even if it's in the NIT. So if there is no NIT this year and you're missing out on tournament play in March, that's experience you'll never get back as a team. So no NIT this year. So Purdue has no choice but to make the Madness, and they put themselves in a great position, but ain't taking nothing for granted. I'll tell you that. Cause like I said, Northwestern, they looked like a lock start the year. And ever since Big Ten play started, they still haven't gotten a win in the 2021 calendar year. So you take nothing for granted when it comes to that stuff. And one thing we don't take for granted again is the credentials that the Purdue media department was nice enough to lend over to Braggs in the Stands here. Our first media credentials. It wasn't for a high school game, it was for a college game. Can you believe it? On the Big Ten stage. It was pretty cool. And yeah, we got a little we got a little inside track because we got our boy Sash on the squad. So we won't pretend as if that isn't the case. But regardless of that, really appreciate the Purdue media department proving our credentials for Braggs in the Stands and making us feel all warm and fuzzy inside here. Really, really cool experience for me. I love going to the games. I love experiencing this stuff. Excuse me. I had to cough, so I had to mute, but these were some of the sights and sounds I got. I always give Sasha crap about this little pregame huddle they do. I always tell them I need to be inspired when I see them do this, because sometimes they look like a bunch of old men doing it. They're all like trying to work out knock off the rust from the night before or something. But these are some of the shots I got. Jaden Ivey flash into the rim. Really, 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 really impressed by this guy. Like we were talking about with Spike earlier, this guy is just, Chubbs laughs at me, but man, does this guy to me look like Ao? He really does. The same kind of body type, athleticism, aggressiveness, confidence. I see Ao. Ao obviously is probably more polished, a better shooter, came out of the Chicago public school system, and that is some of the highest level basketball you will ever see. Haven't gotten to go to a high school basketball game in Illinois because they haven't been playing. I think they're just about to get started up, but Ivy would be able to hang with those boys too. This guy is a dog, and even got his little shooting touch going the other night, but he's just got the whole package. And I think this is the guy that's truly going to separate Purdue, as they go down the March Madness run, because they're great at running offensive sets, but this is something that you can't teach with Jaden Ivey, is his aggressiveness and being able to get by people one-on-one and go to the rim. And he's got the whole toolkit, and he's a freshman. He just won freshman of the week again for the second time. He's got nothing but great things ahead in his career. They all do. All these freshmen do. I've showed this play a few times, but I can't help but be impressed. Like I said, all these freshmen on the court. You got 4 freshmen running the break here. No seniors on this team. You got the juniors waving them on. That's my favorite part of that clip is the guys on the bench. And get back, because they're so excited to make a play. And I'm excited for them, and happy to see these guys, flirt. And it's going to be exciting to see them get into the tournament and prove my guy Chubbs wrong. I don't know what you're talking about. It's not close. I don't know what you're talking about. I ain't even listening. I ain't listening to you, Chubb. Actually, I am going to listen to you because you're one of the nice ones that's still hanging out while I'm by myself here at Braggs in the Stands. Otherwise, I'd just be talking to myself more than likely. So I appreciate it, Chubbs, even though you're always giving me crap. It seems like the Carson Wentz rumors have died down. We almost got a David Montgomery scare. Earlier he was saying goodbye. It almost felt like on Twitter, and then he pulled the rug back under us, as he pulled it out, with that tweet. And luckily, it sounds like he's going to be staying. So we shall see, as the blind man once said. But another guy I want to shout out is my guy Trey Tunes. Each day, noon to 2 on Twitch. You need to be tuned into this guy's Twitch channel. He's going to be a part of what we do here at Braggs in the Stands. And as long as I don't drive him completely crazy. But man, he is as talented as they come. I can't speak more highly of this guy. I'm just out here faking it till I make it, have fun. People can doubt me all day. I'm going to keep doing this stuff, and we'll see where it goes. But This guy, Trey Tunes, is going places. He did a parody song today that we were having so much fun watching him put it together on his Twitch channel. And like I said, he's going to be a part of what we do here at Brags in the Stands. And I want to make sure I properly shout out his show. So make sure you follow it at www.twitch.tv/Trey Tunes every day, 12 to 2. They got a live chat. We have a lot of fun in there while he's screwing around. Sometimes I'll call in and bug him. But for the most part, Trey Tunes is just pulling up music, pulling up videos, having some fun, and it's really, really entertaining stuff. So I want you guys to make sure you're tuned in. Even you, Chubbs, even you should be tuned in, man. I really think you'd enjoy some of the stuff he's putting out there. So yeah, that's Matt Nagy sitting in his room right now deliberating how many first-round picks are we going to give up for Carson Wentz. I don't know. We'll find out, but I'm scared to find out, to be honest with you. But that'll wrap things up here tonight for Brags in the Stands. Definitely went way longer than I ever thought we would, but Spike was gracious enough with all of his time tonight to hang out and talk about his career and the prospects of these young Boilers. So we appreciate it. Next week, we are finally going to get to our boy, Johnny B. He's licking his wounds. He's a strong man, so he's already dug into next year. He's already on recruiting trips on Twitter for some of our guys on the Bears side. So we got a bone to pick with Johnny, but I know that he had a tough weekend watching Tom Brady take down their beloved Chiefs, Abby and John's beloved Chiefs. So we're going to touch base with him next week and get all the sights and sounds that he had and hear his experience of, Tom Brady kind of taking it to him this time. The Chiefs are going to be back. So he got to witness a Super Bowl in person last year. So, we're not crying too many tears for Johnny, but it had to be pretty hard to be there in person and watch that and it not even be a game. I feel bad for him for sure. But certainly not surprised, man. Tom Brady is that type of dude. You saw what he did to Aaron Rodgers and Lambeau, so you never, ever sell Tom Brady short. The guy is capable of anything on any team. I wish the Bears would have made a run at him had I known they were going to be completely done on Mitch 2 games into the season. Instead of a guy like Nick Foles for a 4th-round pick, you could have got Tom Brady, and yeah, you'd have had to pay him, but you wouldn't have had to give up a 4th-round pick. And then Tom Brady is your quarterback, and Rob Gronkowski comes in because he's his buddy, and maybe they convince him to bring in Antonio Brown. And before you know it, you're winning a Super Bowl if you're the Chicago Bears. But that's just me, the truther, talking over here. So I'm just trying to come up with solutions instead of, always coming up with problems like Twitter seems to do. So we'll see what happens this year. It seems like there is nothing but problems in front of us as Bears fans and not many solutions. And I don't know if Carson Wentz is the solution, but we're going to find out how interested the Chicago Bears are in them. As I said, we'll touch on that next week. Hopefully, JJ Stankovitz can come on. Jake will be back. Johnny B will be back. We'll talk about the Super Bowl and everything else. So that wraps things up. Yeah, again, like I said, tomorrow night, I am making my Trent Williams. I'll take any kind of offensive line help that we can get here. But yeah, tomorrow night, as I said, I'm making my broadcasting basketball broadcasting debut. I have done some color analyst work for Region Sports Network in baseball. Even had the water dumped over my head when players, when they won the section, Lake Central won the sectional championship once. So had a little bit of experience doing some baseball play-by-play. But tomorrow I'm going to be at Crown Point High School. And this was last night over at Portage High School as Crown Point took on the Portage Indians. Wanted to get a little homework in on how Crown Point's looked. Hadn't been able to go to any high school games since last year. So this was last night's scene. And making my broadcasting debut on basketball side of things tomorrow. So I'm going to have to pick Bobby Riddell's brain as far as the pointers and the do's and don'ts, but I figured just throw myself into the deep end and figure it out. Here's a picture I snapped of Bobby and Rob Blackman working the call at Purdue, Mackey Arena at Purdue University on Saturday. I sent it to Bobby. I was giving him the huge creeper status there. So it was a pretty funny moment. So we'll see. I'm going to do my best Bobby Buckets impersonation tomorrow. Here was a video I had because, as we, a couple weeks from now will be sectionals in basketball. I might pop around to a few games And, you never know, because there's been some magical moments. You see in our intro every week, we have some great, all-time great high school basketball moments that I've covered. So you might even see a little high school basketball coverage on Brags in the Stands. You never know, because it's all about where I'm headed to. And for right now, we're doing college basketball, but we always like to keep it loose. We talk baseball, we talk high school basketball, we talk NFL football, we talk Bulls when they'll ever pick it up. But right now it's looking ugly. Here's a look into how the sights and sounds looked at Portage High School last night. So there it is. Jake Usman putting in the easy two on a nice transition, fast break there, a nice ball movement from Crown Point. So I'm looking forward to it's actually not tomorrow night, it's Friday night. I'm getting my days confused, being in lockdown because all this snow here in Northwest Indiana just keeps piling down on us. It's like I'm calling mercy on the snow. I know I've dominated Mother Nature many times, but I am calling mercy when it comes to the snow. I want no more of this. I'm done with it. Cannot stand it. So we shall see. But again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight. Had a lot of fun with Spike Albrecht. Definitely want to give our shout out to Spike Albrecht for all of his time tonight, the pride of the region in Crown Point, Indiana, and of course, formerly of Purdue Boilermakers and the Michigan Wolverines, and now a basketball trainer out here in the region. So make sure you check him out. And if you want, make sure you hit up his training online. There it is again, Spike Albrecht Hoops at gmail.com. And 40-minute sessions, $10 a session. All ages welcome. I might even hit him up to get my handles back on. What do you think, Chubbs? Get my handles back on so I can shake you one of these days when we get back to the parks. Do a little crossover right in your face. That's what I'd love to do, Chubbs. I could spot you 9 points. I'm gonna win 10-9. Just gonna post you up, hook shots behind the backs. I got it all. I got all the tools in the tool chest. So you better watch out for that, Chubbs. That wraps things up here for Brags in the Stands. I'm done messing around with Chubbs. Want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Everybody in the chat. Of course, thank you to Chubbs for hanging out, my loyal listener. But I know many of you are going to be watching this, after the fact. So make sure you tune in. We're going to have more shows here, more basketball shows here coming up as we march to madness, as I'm punning it here on Brags in the Stands. The march to madness has begun. So I'm really looking forward to it. Want to see Purdue's name called on Selection Sunday. So we're going to bring on some fun guests as we gear towards that moment. So that wraps things up for tonight. Of course, this is Brags in the Stands. Make sure you tune in next week for some more fun guests. Take care, everyone.